see that drinks are always here. My name is Angie Reeves. I'm the new Curricular Enrollment Coordinator. So we have a pretty packed agenda today. An animation I didn't know was there. So a lot of updates followed by a few announcements. As you were all coming in, you got a pink sheet. So that pink sheet is full of a lot of the newer terms used in the RO. So we took your feedback from the last forum that we use a lot of acronyms, and we know that can get confusing and to be a little bit of a mouthful. So we translated that out for you and gave some things some definition. And we also updated our website, so there's a web link at the bottom that takes you to several more RO terms and definitions. The forum is also being video recorded, so after we get things wrapped up for the day, the video as well as the PowerPoint slides will be on our website. So under the curriculum toolkit, and so if you have any colleagues that were not able to attend today, you're welcome to share the handouts with them as well as refer them there, and I'll send out an email once that gets updated. Also in that email, we'll be asking for your feedback, because once again, we wouldn't keep having these if we didn't think that they were valuable, so we'll be asking for your feedback as well. So to kick things off, I'm going to introduce Beth Warner, who's going to do an update on the Lumen project.
I'm starting my timer, Angie. I've been given a certain amount of time and I'm not going over because otherwise I'd just be taking time away from Will, and everybody knows we want to hear from Will more than me. So, hi everybody, Beth Warner in the Office of the Registrar. Thanks for the waves. I'm excited to be in front of you today because we have lots to update you on a very important project for the Office of the Registrar that, as of today, actually, as of sometime this summer, we actually have a consistent name for it. And you heard Angie refer to it as Lumen. On your pink sheets, there's a Lumen entry, and then everything underneath it is what I am loosely going to talk about today, with primary emphasis on the term that is called the guide on that pink sheet. I believe when I was in front of you the last time, we were talking about the project that we're doing to implement a new curricular management framework on our campus, and that we had contracted with a vendor to put up this framework for us. And the vendor's name is Leapfrog, and the software that they use is called CourseLeaf. And the framework for the curricular management work on our campus was really going to be larger than either the vendor or the software. And so that's where we started thinking about how do we really want to present this to our campus community. How many of you here use the Advising Gateway? Okay, hands are up. That's a wonderful single source, a starting point for all things that advisors need to do their work with students. How many of you miss having to go to all those systems separately and not being able to access them through the Advising Gateway? No hands, right? It's a good concept. So, like any good concept, copying is the sincerest form of flattery. So that's what we decided to do, because we recognize that folks that have curricular responsibilities on our campus are in large part navigating a landscape that was similar to the advisor's landscape prior to the implementation of the Advisor Gateway. And that at any given time, depending on your responsibilities, curricular folks may have to go to the old Red Dot CMS system to update their catalog content, might have to go, well, not might, likely have to go into the student information system to build your schedule of classes, probably use R25, have to go to the online course proposal system, and have to navigate what is, I understand, a pretty paper-based, labor-intensive process to implement program changes and review processes at the current time. So we wanted to take all of that work and provide a single point of entry, and that is where we came up with Lumen. And I'm not going to define it for you because it's on your pink sheet. I'm actually going to show it to you because it is now live in the MyUW portal. So, sorry, let's try to shift this over. Anyone can go out to the MyUW portal right now and download Lumen. There's going to be multiple functions available to you through the Lumen app. All you have to know is that if I have a curricular responsibility or task that I want to take care of, Lumen will eventually be my starting point for everything. It's going to be iteratively developed, and what we're doing as we launch Lumen right now is starting with the functionality that will be used by those of you who have responsibility for updating undergraduate catalog content. And that will be in this first card. We've also built a bridge to the current online course proposal system through the Lumen app. And eventually that online course proposal system will be enhanced and will be a new and improved framework that will be very intuitive for folks to use. There will be other things added to the Lumen portal, such as the program proposals and changes that I was talking about earlier, program review activities, and eventually class scheduling. The term building will be done through the Lumen app. What I really want to talk to you about today is what happened as of, well, I guess about this time last week. Tuesday and Wednesday last week, we had training on our campus to help those folks that have responsibility for editing what used to be the catalog content on our campus and will now be called the guide, another term on your pink sheet. When the catalog, what has previously been known as the catalog, is updated and launched in June of 2017, undergraduate and graduate catalogs that have previously existed as two separate entities will be merged into one environment and will be presented as and rebranded as the guide. Will be a source for students of all the curricular offerings, all the degree programs on our campus. I'm going to go ahead and kick into that because it is a very different environment. Any of you that have used our existing catalog probably are familiar with the fact that to get to degree major information in our current catalog, a student sort of has to know the infrastructure of our institution, right? So if I'm a student who's interested in agronomy, I need to know in the current catalog that agronomy resides in Cal's because I'm presented with a list of schools and colleges. How many of you think that students coming to our campus know where our majors are housed and what schools and colleges they live? Nobody's hands are going up, right? So what we're doing with this guide is we're flipping that infrastructure and we're actually going to present students with the information that they're most familiar with, which is the degree major combinations. This is the home page. You'll see that we have undergraduate and graduate listings here, and I'll go through this infrastructure a little bit. But what I want to show you, I'm a Mac user and I'm on a desktop right now, so please bear with my clumsiness. This is a listing. Yep, see, I'm scrolling the wrong way. There we go. So this is really how students will be interacting with our catalog content. They'll be presented with a list of the degrees and majors that are their options. They're not going to have to know that African language and literature is in LNS. They're just going to be able to go into African languages and literature. The other thing that they'll be able to do is do a very dynamic search. On every page within our catalog, there's a search box that will be Google powered. In the editing environment that folks are using right now, the Google search isn't as powerful as it will be when we're live in the actual published guide. They'll be able to type in keywords and pull up all information that has reference to that. They'll also be able to use, let's see if I can scroll correctly. Yep. They'll also be able to use filter categories that are being developed by a group of advisors and led by Ren Singer. I shouldn't say just advisors, I'm leaving some key people out there. Sorry, Michelle Young. Advisors and administrators. And they're developing filters that will be very student-friendly. These are placeholder filters. We don't have a really cool checkbox that actually will be one of our filter categories, as you might imagine. But if it says business and entrepreneurship, and I click on that, the program list will be whittled down to programs that actually meet that category or that filter. The other things that I want to just briefly talk to you about in the guide is the very dynamic presentation that will exist. There we go. So our program pages will have visual representation of the various programs. These are images that have been collected by school-college communication coordinators and will be used to engage the user of the guide in a very different way. We've also established consistent content structures across the catalog. And for those of you who have looked at our existing, across the guide, gosh, I'm going to have to put $1 in the swear jar for every time I say the wrong word. So across the guide, there will be consistent catalog structure, content structures that have not previously existed. If you've used our existing catalog, you know that what Scott Burkhart wanted to enter in history could be maybe sort of related to what Nikki agriculture and applied economics, but students navigating across schools and colleges could encounter very different presentation of information, and they'd almost have to get oriented to where they were and where they could find different things. We had a group of catalog experts from the schools and colleges that worked about 9 months with us to develop consistent content structures that will be presented in the guide. And there are handouts on your tables, just 2, but I wanted to give you an idea of the various tabs and structures that will be presented on every page within the guide. So whether a student's looking at LNS or CALS or engineering, they're going to know, oh, if I want to know what my degree requirements are, I go to the Requirements tab. If I want to know what the learning outcomes are for my program, I go to the Learning Outcomes tab. We've gotten to this point because we migrated the content from the existing undergraduate catalog into the new environment. Not all of the information that will be populated in these tabs existed in that old environment, right? So one of the nice things about our new environment is if content is missing, you'll notice at the degree major level, one of the tabs that is available is Wisconsin Experience. That isn't presently showing on the tab structure for this page because at this point, no Wisconsin Experience content was migrated from the previous version of the catalog. That's content that will be developed iteratively, and we recognize that the migration and updating of the existing content was our priority, and that supplementing that content with additional or new information was a desired state, but that we probably weren't going to get every tab populated in the first version of the guide by June 2017. So the nice thing is if there's no content there, it won't actually display, so we're not displaying blank pages. The other thing that I want to just highlight really quickly on the requirements page, a decision was made by our core planning group that undergraduate general education requirements would display on every requirements page so that students have the full landscape of the degree requirements that they need to fulfill to get a degree in agricultural economics, I think is the page I'm on. So we start with general education requirements, we go into school college requirements, and then we go into the major requirements. Over time, I gotta stop. One of the big things that we're really excited about, though, I want to show you the course bubble. So when a student is in the catalog, they can click on a course and they can see lots of additional information about the course. One of the things that we've done is we've placed a mortar board. Will Lipsky has trouble saying that word, so I always have to double check myself. And that is attached to any course that fulfills one of the 5 core general education requirements. So it's a little visual cue to students that, hey, this is something that might help me, so I'm going to click into that. And then within the course designation, I can see which of those general education requirements it actually fulfills. I can also see what courses are required before I can take this course. I can see how the course is cross-listed and just get a little more information. The nice thing about having those courses hyperlinked in there is that if one of them changes, it's systematically updated with a change as long as the course is hyperlinked. Which, if any of you have been involved with catalog editing in the past, you know that the static courses that existed required a manual check by someone's visual eye to try to figure out if Math 211 changed, where is that listed? So this will save us a ton of work. Does anybody have any questions about the guide or what we're seeing at this point? I'd be happy to. I begged for 10 minutes and I've already gone over, so I feel like I need to stop. But if anybody, yeah, I see a hand. Go ahead.
You said there was training last week.
Yes.
How do I know whether I was supposed to have gone to that?
If you are on the list of catalog guide content editors in your school or college, which the only schools and colleges that we have distributed models for catalog guide editing are LNS, CALS, and engineering. You should have gotten an email from your school college coordinator, so Tori Richardson in LNS, Nikki Bali in CALS, or Jen Brown in engineering. If you weren't able to attend training, and you should have, I'm going to introduce a very important person right now, Melissa Schultz. I'm going to have her stand up. Melissa's job is actually to provide ongoing training and support for the Lumen module, not only the guide editing, but other pieces of the product that are rolled out in the next 12 to 18 months. It's an important milestone. It's the first step in our new curricular management framework, but we're underway and it's really exciting. So thanks for your time, and I'll be around afterwards if you have other questions.
going to give a Navigator update.
Afternoon, folks. A lot of familiar faces in the room. For those that don't know me, I'm Aaron Apple, work at the Registrar's office, and I'll give you the real quick and dirty on Navigator. As you may or may not know, the Registrar's office is charged with managing and maintaining the variety of software products that students use to discover courses, enroll in courses, build plans, and ultimately go back to the student center and enroll in the courses so that they can attend the classes here at UW-Madison. Unfortunately, across a number of years, we've, with the best of intentions, introduced software that helps students in one regard, but along the way kind of built in a few bumpy roads that students are having problems now finding, completing that enrollment activity across the board in a seamless fashion. So what we've been doing since, well, for about the last year and a half, but actively developing for the last 9 months since January, is working on a product called Navigator. We wanted to step back and take a look at the environment that we put students in, or the environment that we host, and make it as usable as possible, so that students can sit down in one single interface and find the courses that they're looking to enroll in, build an academic plan, or build a list of courses that they're looking to enroll in for the upcoming term, build a schedule of classes a schedule of sections, a compilation of sections that they want to enroll in, and ultimately enroll in those sections all within one single cohesive user interface. So with a focus on usability and the student experience, we've worked with a number of offices across campus to sit back and design an application focused on that usability for students. No longer will they have to go to Course Guide to find the courses, build out an academic plan, step off into a third-party application to build a schedule, come back into Student Center or back into DARS to see how those classes may or may not apply to their degree progress, step back off to Student Center to find, to enroll for the courses, actually to validate coursework, to see if they can even take the courses and the classes that they have selected, only to find out or be presented with a big red X that you don't meet the prerequisites for this course, and have to go back to the start and do this process all over again and navigate through these various disparate systems. So what Navigator will do, similar to what the Advising Gateway has done and similar to what we've done with Lumen, is take these major steps within the enrollment process and bring them forward in one cohesive place and one usable interface for students so they can do everything all in one place. That's the big goal. Timeline. We've been developing this and are currently in the middle of testing and implementation, or testing the application and the test environment with hopes to roll this out softly to a limited population of students this spring at SOAR, mid-January 2017. That's the goal. That's very ambitious. But what we would like to do is get feedback as well from all of the constituents that may or may not interact with students that would have influence on what this looks and feels like. So real quick show of hands across the board. We've done the first round of survey and feedback, and some of you may or may not have received an email asking for your feedback with regards to how the test environment looks and feels. That was just for the searching course search part of things. We will have a subsequent round of testing. So real quick show of hands, who may or may not be interested in receiving, or who would be interested in receiving this second round of survey for feedback. Cool. We'll send this out to, or include the Curricular and Enrollment representatives as part of the subsequent emails for feedback gathering. You should see that sometime in early to mid-November, if all things go as planned. And we'll see a little bit more of the Navigator in just a very short while, some months to come. Thank you for the time. That was really quick and dirty. I went over my 5 minutes even. So I'm going to hand it back to Angie. Thank you.
All right, next we have an update on the obsolete course policy from Scott Golicki and Michelle Young.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Scott Gallagher, for those of you who I've had the pleasure to meet. Just very brief, maybe I can get us back on schedule, Angie. Some updates of the obsolete course policy. So the review period has ended. Let me step back a second. If you're not familiar with the obsolete course policy, the faculty passed a policy that says courses that have not been taught with enrollment in the past 8 years are subject to inactivation. And so there's a 1-year period here where folks have the opportunity to say if they're going to offer a course or not. So that review period ended on October 3rd. There was a appeal or waiver process for courses that might be taught 1 to 2 years from now, and that's ongoing. Schools and colleges have curriculum committees that are beginning to review the course waivers, and then they'll go on to the University Curriculum Committee on November 11th. There will be a meeting there to make final determinations on if courses will remain active. Couple other updates here. So if a course was indicated to be offered either in this academic year, so fall 2016, currently spring 2017, or summer 2017, that course will remain active. If it does not receive enrollment by the end of summer of 2017, it will be inactivated automatically. So that is coming. The other, if a course's appeal is granted, the 1192 term, so let's see, fall 2018 will be the last time that course could be scheduled before being inactivated. So I guess this might be an opportunity if anybody has questions or anything. I'll also add about, I've received a lot of questions about cross lists. If a course is cross-listed and one subject owner is planning to offer the course or gets an appeal or waiver accepted, all cross lists will automatically be saved. It's not like we're going to start removing subject listings from those courses. So, how did I do, Angie? You good? All right. Any other questions? You can feel free to find me or Michelle afterwards, or shoot me an email. Thanks.
All right, now we have the person you've all been waiting for, Will Lipsky, to talk about PERC.
So I have no clue what I did to warrant this big stage that was set in front of my colleagues, so thank you for that, everyone. My slides consist of no pink dolphins or unicorns along those slides, lots of words, but so I want to give you an update regarding PERC, or post-enrollment requisite checking. So this is a process. I wasn't too quick on the slide advance. So this is the process that we introduced to you all last curriculum enrollment rep form. Since then, we've completed 2 PERC audits of this. We did the PERCing of summer enrollments, as well as the PERCing of fall enrollments in select courses within 4 departments. And so once again, I really want to publicly thank chemistry and psychology and statistics and math for going with the growing pains that we had with this project, because there were some growing pains associated with those processes. And so I want to report back a little bit about some of the lessons that we had learned, as well as kind of upgrades and new improvements and enhancements we've had to the process. We'll do a little refresher on what PERC is, because I do know that we have some new faces in the room, and then we'll talk about advancements and next steps. But once again, I want to publicly thank those 4 departments for serving with us on this pilot of PERC. So this, once again, will make a lot more sense once you upload the slides that we have available on our website after the PowerPoint slide. But an overview of PERC is, I'm going to use math as an example because I'm looking at Dion right now. We assume the enrollment system is a loving system. We're going to assume that students are going to pass their courses and be ready and actively prepared for the next course. So I might be enrolled in Calc 1, we'll call it Math 221, which is an enforced prerequisite of Math 222. And I'll be enrolling for classes come the next semester in November for spring courses. So I'm going to sign up for Calc 2, Math 222. Enrollment system is going to let me do that, but I'm going to get a conditional and warranted message, and we'll show you what that looks like again. But there is the real possibility, because it's been a long time since I've seen a derivative or an integral, but I would fail Calc 1. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there. If I took the Calc 1 exam, it would not be pretty right now. It would be far from pretty. So I would then end up, as part of the PERC review process, during the review phase, where I would likely no longer be meeting the requisites for Math 222, which isn't helpful for me as a student to be in a class that I don't have the preparation for. It's not helpful to the instructor teaching Math 222 because she's going to have to try to figure out how to teach me, who doesn't understand basic derivatives, and somebody who's well prepared for Calc 2. It doesn't help for the folks managing the wait list in calculus because I'm sitting in a class taking a valuable spot when math has some capacity and would love to make sure students get in their classes. And so we've implemented a system where I would get a review letter saying, warning, we've noticed that you've no longer completed the requisites for 222. The math department's reviewing your enrollment. Process is going to be 9 days long. Math would be looking at their work center, and we'll show you what that looks like, and would likely make a recommendation that I should be dropped from Math 222. I'm guessing Dion would probably drop me if I were to fit it up. She's shaking me down, I'm out. So then, 10 days from that process, or 9 days from that process, math would have that instituted, and I would get an email saying that I've been dropped from Math 222. So that's conceptually this whole big process. This is going to be available for you on the PowerPoint slide. So let's talk a little bit about highlights, lessons learned, but I wanted to do that 2-minute recap of what PERC was for folks who are new to the room. So first of all, course setup. We wanted to make sure that as we're working with courses, that the enforced requisite, the requirement group that we're applying at the catalog level, matches that of the catalog text on the course. And so this would be a good example of Math 222. I could take Math 217 and be prepared for Math 222. I could take Math 221 and be prepared for 222. I could take Math 275 and be prepared. We want to make sure that students know what the allowable requisites are for the course. And so we partnered with, since all of our pilot programs were within the College of Letters and Science, we partnered with Kim Brandon Lane from Letters and Sciences Dean's Office and Michelle from the LNS from the UCC perspective. And we made sure that those stated requisites matched that of the requirement group. And I want to specifically call out 2 dates that if you are interested in possibly looking at PERCing courses, and there's a chance that you might need to have a requisite text updated, the UCC deadline for summer courses, for course changes, courses need to be submitted to the UCC by December 1st. That's to the UCC, so you probably have a school or college in front of that process, so know that and plan backwards. If you're wanting to possibly get a course change for the fall 2017 scheduled classes, it needs to be submitted to the UCC by February 16th. So know your deadlines, work backwards with your school and college offices, etc. But this is an important part of the process. We do not add courses to the PERC catalog unless we ensure that we have a matched requisite in catalog text. So enrollment, this is a reminder that there's this new enrollment status out there for students. So pre-PERC, we had students were either satisfied, they were enrolled, or they didn't meet the requisite of the course. Now there's this new catalog message, or actually 3 messages, because it exists for when you're verifying that you have the requisites, if you get on the wait list, or if you're actually enrolling in the course, that you're conditionally enrolled in the course, that you are taking the course in progress to meet the requisite enforced to this. This catalog message displays on any student enrollment regardless of if the course is part of PERC or not part of PERC. We have the phrasing in there. We work with our advising colleagues to make sure that and actually students were actually quite forward with the process as far as what this student speaking here. Don't tell me if this and that, just tell me what it is. So this text is out there to show any student that you're currently taking an in-class progress course to fulfill a requisite for this, that you may be dropped from the course moving forward. I mentioned that review phase, that time that after I failed Calc 1 and I get an email. We have 2 times implemented PERC, and we have updated the student email now based on feedback from summer to fall, that we wanted to more explicitly call out the conditional enrollment status. So when we did PERC in May, we had lots of students who were enrolled in summer courses, but were receiving PERC communications for their fall enrollment because they were doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. They were enrolled for the summer courses. And so we took that feedback loud and clear, and we added some additional text in the student email specifically stating, this is what it means to be conditionally enrolled in the course. We recognize that you have not failed to meet the requisite of the course. We know that. it's in progress, you have an incomplete grade, you have an NR, but we specifically lightened up the student enrollment, the student email based on the feedback. So thank you for the feedback from the advisors, from the curricular enrollment reps that were part of this process, but we have a new and improved student email for conditional people that we heard loud and clear within like 3 minutes of that email being sent out. Whoa, 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 this is wrong. Ask Jean Hamers, she can tell you the issues. Also new and improved, I did mention that as I got that email saying I failed Calc 1 and so I'm being reviewed, my assigned advisor also is getting an email saying one or more of your advisees are being reviewed for coursework out there. We have improved the advisor email to add a new column to specifically state the current status, so whether or not I failed to meet the requisites or if I'm still conditionally enrolled. This was another one that we got some emails and some feedback from advisors calling me and saying, you know, I really want to know, is this student just still in progress of fulfilling that requisite or flat out failed to meet that requisite? So our advisor communications has also been new and improved since we last talked with each other back in March. So thank you for the feedback, advising community specific to this. For the folks who worked their rosters to figure out whether or not they wanted to recommend a drop or allow the students to stay in the course, the previous experience in May, June, was they had to go section by section and figure out, was there a student in this section that had a review, an enrollment that needed to be reviewed? And bless her soul, we had Leslie Gardner who sent 2 or 3 times throughout the process an Excel sheet of here are all the sections that you had, but people had to wait on Leslie. Leslie had to come up with an Excel sheet, we passed this along. What we implemented in August for the fall review is a work center where it actually hyperlinks specifically to sections, and you can see specifically how many students are still conditional, how many students are still actively failing to meet the requisites via a work center where if you click on a number, it takes you directly to the roster and shows you which students you need to be reviewed. This feedback was greatly welcomed by the departments working their rosters, so this way they knew live time, these are the sections that still need to be acknowledged. And once they checked the box saying the review was complete, that course was no longer part of their work center out there. So we've also enhanced the end user experience for folks who are reviewing the PERC students, and PERC is a verb. I want to provide some stats, and I want to specifically kind of call out that middle column within June. We decided, because this was our first time to do PERC, let's PERC all future terms. Let's PERC students in this most immediate term coming up this summer, but we also reviewed the PERC process for fall students. We learned that lesson loud and clear that people are receiving conditional emails because they are enrolled in courses for the summer term, and so if you look at the number of students receiving warning emails, that number is a combined warrant you're no longer satisfied and your warning you're still conditionally enrolled. That number is large. That created a lot of work for people working the rosters to decide to have people stick around because they're doing what they need to be doing out there. So one of the other processes that we learned about this process is we are going to be conducting PERC for the immediate next term only. So come late January, we're going to be PERCing spring and spring alone. Come next May/June, we're going to be PERCing for summer and summer alone. We're not going to touch fall. And then come August, we're going to PERC fall, and we're not going to touch anything else. So that was another lesson learned, that as you're looking for these numbers, the numbers were really high for the spring semester, for that May review session for the fall, but those numbers are high because a lot of people were enrolled in courses here at UW-Madison. Question?
And these are just those 4 departments?
These were for those 4 departments, correct. And sections needing reviewed, sections could be multiple sections of 221, but each section that had a roster was something that had to be reviewed by the department. So those were for not all the classes within those 4 departments, but select classes within the 4 departments. Question?
The work center looks great. I understand doing the single shot at each semester, that's good. When you talk about sending the email to the students and then copying the advisor, is that an individual email? We're going to get copied on every single email sent to our majors, our students?
Did everyone hear the question, or did this corner of the room is opposite here? Okay, great. So no, it's not an individual email that's copied onto the advisor. The students receive an individual email, and if they're being PERCed for multiple courses, they're going to receive an email saying, you're under review for Math 221 and Chem 343. So a student would get 1 email if it's multiple PERC. The advisor, so if I go back to the advisor email, every single one of these rows is a new unique student. So you would get 1 email listing all of your students who are under PERC review. That's a good thing. Looking if I'm bringing down hurdles, that's a good thing. Okay, great. We did that right. Well done, developers. Yes?
Will that go to some students that won't pull it out of design people or possibly like are they all going to get that same email?
Did folks in the back of the room hear the question? So the question was, some students have multiple assigned advisors. They might have an athletics advisor, a people advisor, a posse advisor, an academic advisor for major 1, major 2, and a certificate advisor. Who's getting the email? If it's a specific named person, that person's going to get that named person email. And so if I have Scott Burkhardt as my advisor for history, and I have Karen Thompson for my advisor for Portuguese, these are both named individuals, and they're both going to get, or I'm going to appear on that roster saying I'm failing Cup 1, look out for Will in his 222 enrollment. I know, I just got to listen to my advisor. However, if I also have a program or a committee advisor, so I might be part of the LNS Honors Program, and there's a staff of 3 different advisors within that who is more of a committee advisor. And so for any of those committee advising arrangements, School of Business is pretty popular for, Letters in Science, pretty popular for, I believe, nursing. We have a specific email account that we contacted the coordinator of each committee. And so for the honors example, I email honors@honors. I email the committee advisor assignment that Jackie tells me to. And we get that to Jackie, but it's just one email to the whole committee as opposed to every single advisor on the committee. So that's my PERC update. I don't know how I'm doing as far as time, but I'm the next person on the agenda, so that's fine. So if you're interested in learning more about PERC, if you want to sample PERC for some of your courses in the upcoming future, Angie is the queen of all things PERC, and so feel free to contact her, angie.reeves@wis.edu, and she will get you what you need to know for PERC. Should I just advance and keep going? I'm going to invite my colleague from APR, Michelle Young, to join me for this next one. Where is she hiding? There you are.
In March of 2016, the University Academic Planning Council approved a policy on the minimum qualifications for instructional staff. This is a policy that's largely about stating values. Those people that we put in front of our classes to teach our students should be qualified. And we are doing this in part because our creditors have told us that we have to have a policy on that, and just to clarify and help with a few situations that may spring up from time to time about whether a person who's teaching a course is qualified to do so. So, who are the instructional staff? The policy is only concerned with instructional staff at UW-Madison who teach with appointments as faculty or as instructional academic staff. It does not include graduate students who are teaching assistants or lecturers SA. By definition and by their appointment, they are always supervised by a faculty member, and a faculty member is a qualified instructor. So the 3 main things that form the policy on qualified instructional staff are that you have a terminal degree or at least a degree 1 level higher than what the course is being taught. So if it's an undergraduate course number 100 to 300, and the instructor has a master's degree, that's a master's level degree course, they are a qualified instructor. If they're teaching a graduate course aimed at PhD students, they would need to have a PhD or a similar terminal degree in order to be qualified to teach that course. This is where we think there will be a little bit of a change, although we already know that a number of schools and colleges do this, but everyone who teaches is going to have an instructional appointment. So, from time to time, perhaps some of you have taught the CP 125 classes, and they're an area that's usually rather good about this. In order to teach that class, they will have to give you an instructional appointment, probably an appointment as a lecturer, which is actually what I think they currently do. But people will not be able to teach if they have, say, a student services coordinator appointment and no instructional appointment. As I said, I think most schools and colleges are already doing this, but this is part of the new policy that we identify with instructional appointments, those who are teaching classes. And part and parcel with having that instructional title, people will have their highest degree information entered into HRS. As you can see there, we have information about, there will be some cases we know where people will not have earned a terminal degree and so forth. That doesn't mean that they are always and forever, no questions asked, not able to be qualified instructors. There is, no, I don't. There would be another slide here that would talk about alternative qualifications. Okay.
We'll have that slide up and ready for you. Apologies. You want me to you got it.
I got this. So, you know, and I'll use an example from pharmacy. A degree in pharmacy 25 years ago was most frequently a bachelor's level degree. They didn't do the PharmD, which is the degree that many pharmacists earn now. So many of our faculty and instructional staff in pharmacy may only have a bachelor's degree. They've been teaching here for years, and they're very good at it and very qualified to do so. By the policy, one may say, well, they don't have a terminal degree, they can't be teaching in the Doctor of Pharmacy program, but the School of Pharmacy can look at their credentials, see the teaching experience they have, the experience in industry, in research, whatever, and say, these are qualified instructors. In other words, the schools and colleges and their departments have the ability to review a person's CV, resume, their qualifications, and say that they are otherwise qualified to teach, even though they may not have the terminal degree or the degree one level higher than the course that's being taught.
So this policy is being enacted effective the spring 17 schedule of classes. And so what we are doing is the instructor advisor table is populated by that HR appointment title that is assigned to that individual out there. And so if they're one of those qualified titles, you're a lecturer teaching counseling psychology 125. If you have that appointment, the instructor advisor table is going to find you. You'll be made available to be assigned within the schedule of classes. What we're going to be needing to do for folks who are student services coordinators but have been appointed or said that you can go ahead and teach a class out there is we're going to be forwarding those contacts, or we're going to be asking that you work with your HR office to get that appointment in there so this way the person can have that instructional appointment that would then auto-populate our instructor advisor table. One of the reasons why we're doing that, there's another hard word, I can't say motor, I can't say graduation cap, I also can't say reason why we're doing this. One of the reasons why we're doing this as well is it's the accreditation standard that we display all of our faculty who are qualified to teach for this. And so, Beth alluded to the guide earlier, there's a tab up top that is going to have a faculty listing. This faculty listing is going to be an A to Z listing of people who have taught classes and have a qualified appointment out there. And you can see I picked on the letter Q because we always start with the letter A. Let's choose some other part of the alphabet. So we have faculty members with the letters of Q as a last name. You can see their name, you can see their title, you can see their department, their degree, from where and when. This is meeting the accreditation standard that when our guide is published, effective for the next summer source of June 2017, this faculty A to Z draw will be available for this. The note on the faculty are these were people with faculty appointments who have taught. So we recognize that we have faculty members who might be on sabbatical and so might not have taught recently. We have some faculty members who might be exclusively bought out and be doing research. This is meeting the accreditation standard of who is teaching our courses out there. And so this will be populated. If you are a guide editor, there will be no need to touch this tab because it will be pulled in as part of the process as well. So that is the implementation of the minimum qualifications. Question?
I'm not sure, but I got a staff. If you're
Lecturer is a qualified appointment type, and so lectures as far as the A to Z draw will be the faculty draw, yes. I'm hearing from Michelle. It's called faculty on the tab was the observation, and it's a lecture.
Yes, it is.
So noted. We're gonna put a heading on, so we're at the letter Q, but even if we're on the letter A, you wouldn't see the header on there right now. We're still designing the guide for publication. We're gonna have a specific header that says specifically who's all underneath this list. And so yes, there are some academic staff there are many academic staff who contribute to the teaching mission here at UW-Madison. We're gonna put on a header that this is faculty and instructional academic staff who have taught within time frame X to time frame Y, because we recognize there are faculty who won't be part of this draw. We'll have instructional academic staff that will be, and so there'll be an explanatory paragraph that says how one person ended up or did not end up on this draw. Yes?
For departments that would commonly for short-term staff requests, last break sessions, for their regional academic practitioners to teach a lot of our classes, and we don't have many lectures a lot of time. How onerous is it for the department to request the session, and will it be increased scrutiny on departments that repeatedly request a session?
So what we have I'm going to go on a little road trip. I'm leaving the PowerPoint. Am I allowed to do that? Look at me go. Go on a road trip. So we're still going to...
There's actually, I think,
2 parts.
so each school and college is going to have its process for how they will vet and approve someone who falls under the otherwise qualified. And once a person is approved as otherwise qualified, that's a never-ending thing. It's not like it's just a one-term thing. If once you're vetted, you're in the system, you're done. So it will really be your department working with your school college to determine and get that information in the HRS system. Yes, yes. Because every discipline and every area is a little different. It didn't seem smart to make a campus-wide policy on that. It's really up to the schools and colleges. And hopefully the idea is that this process will all be done really, really early, so that they get in the instructor advisor table in SIS, and I can see some smiles, and that all of this gets in there in time for the schedule of classes build and when the schedule of classes is published. But it is possible, we think, once in a while, that this may happen at the last minute.
Having been a former curricular rep for biology and knowing that I called Sharan several times prior to the start of the fall term, it's possible, and we're going to go ahead and we want to make sure that people are going through the HR process, because we do need to have people have an appointment. We do have on our curricular toolkit underneath Who Teaches an update to the policy. We have those qualifications. We have the memo that this is pointing to. We do have a pending instructor petition. This is going to be reviewed. It's going to get scrutiny. It's going to make sure that we have this, but we want to make sure that you all, as the curricular enrollment reps, are not, what's that expression, a rock between a hard place or whatever, I'm blanking on what. So we do have this. This is few and far between. We're really going to be pressuring and trying to get those appointments, because even this petition is just a stopgap of, we are going to be looking at this, we're going to be reviewing this. We know that people might need to build a Learn at UW site, and so they're going to need to be named, but we're going to be putting them in as pending instructors, and that could be pulled. It will be pulled if it hasn't gone through the HR system to get that appointment out there. So go to the HR. If you're getting pushed back, try to get an HR appointment again. Try a third time, but we do want to recognize that there are some circumstances that will be beyond your control. Hiring happens at the 13th and a half hour. Katie.
So is this, like, if you were a student services coordinator, is this other appointment, like, it doesn't change your current appointment, it's just another one added on to it?
Yeah, it's a $0 appointment. So a good example is, Michelle alluded to counseling psychology as a department that has a Wisconsin Experience Seminar as part of it. So Tristan Maratz is the person who teaches a Wisconsin Experience Seminar. She also is a student services coordinator within our office. I'm surprised that she doesn't have that lecture appointment. That's interesting.
It may have expired.
It may have expired, I hear. might be able to see multiple appointments out there. It will be lecturer as well, or associate lecturer, etc. So Rasmussen, we have an active. Yeah, so that might have expired. Was there a question over here? Yes. That's all right. The verification of the CV is.
Again, some schools and colleges will have a verification process. That was not part of the policy. We consciously looked at that, and we are not going to verify degrees, at least at the university level. If your policy or practice in your school and college is to verify, that's super, but that is not part of the process.
What is for multiple teachers and associated with qualifications of having common water staff, etc. Is that somewhere listed when you go look at it, like 20 years experience?
There's going to be a field in HRS on the same screen that would have their degree information, and there's going to be a spot there to enter how or why they're otherwise qualified. That information is not going to be displayed in the guide, but it will be in HRS, so again, we'll have that on a permanent basis. That is not going to be displayed.
Any other questions? Great. On the PowerPoint that will be updated with that slide that talks about alternatives to qualifications, there's a reference to the KB document as well. You saw that KB document that references the policy on the Who Teaches part of the curricular toolkit, so be on the lookout for that. I'm only over 2 minutes, I believe. We should go back to the PowerPoint. Go to from current slide. There's some questions. Thanks, everyone.
I'm pretty impressed at how well my colleagues are keeping track of time themselves. It won't be too hard when we're 2 minutes over. Next, I have Ms. Scott Pawlik to talk about waitlist and reserve capacity.
Yes, exactly. We'll have to get on that SMART goal. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so wonderful, as always, to see the bright, shiny faces and see so many familiar friends and colleagues from across the campus. This initiative is so important to our relationship as a campus, and we're really excited to have this opportunity to share the wonderful work that's going on in the registrar's office. I was asked by Angie and the team that was preparing this presentation to give an update on the status of our waitlist and reserved capacity, and a proposal that was made to me as far as looking at the waitlist and the reserve capacity of our current state and where we would like to go in the direction that we would like to head. So I thought what I'd do is step back for many of you that may not have been here and just kind of give a brief background of the situation. So, as many of you know, that in 2009, 2010, the Office of the Registrar led a campus discussion to really talk about what do we want with our waitlist. We want to implement a waitlist process. So at the time, the staff went out and gathered tons and tons and tons of feedback about what would you like in that waitlist. And what we did is we developed a very highly customized waitlist that was implemented in a very distributed manner, and people and departments could manage that waitlist and however they chose to do so, pretty much. So there's no fault to anyone. This was just how things evolved in working with trying to provide the best service to students. We took a step back after hearing some feedback, and Will began kind of a process about 10 months ago of really talking to the different stakeholders across campus. Talking to the academic advising policy leaders, talking to this group, and we had some wonderful discussion and some tabletop discussions. You provided an immense amount of feedback and opinions and constructive discussion topics, as well as our advisors, as well as our students, as well as the registrar's office staff. And I have a few metrics that we shared last time, but I want to share these again and try to break them down for you. So last fall 2015, we actually had 14,744 enrollments that were processed from the wait list. So if we take that 14,744 and we look at the number of unique students, that's about 8,000 unique students. If we look at that number and we think it's about, on average, 3 to 4 clicks to process an enrollment, and I get hung up on this, I'll admit this, but that's 48,000 clicks that people are doing. And I ask myself, is that a good use of our time? A, what value are we providing to students, and what value is that process? And then when I took that 48,000 clicks, and I looked at 100 roughly people that are here today, that was 4,800 clicks per person. And when I take that by 28 hours a year, that's 2 clicks per hour. And so as I thought about that and I looked at some of the other justification, I thought, is that really the value that we're providing to students in these budget times? Can we provide that level? Is that a good use of our resources? We're all very busy. So taking those metrics, Will did a really nice job with others in Rensinger and visiting with departments. And what we found was that the current waitlist process might not be the best. And so let's take a step back and let's see what a different process may look like. And one of the things that we found was that there are many benefits to moving to what a more delivered waitlist option through the student information system would exist or would look like. And some of those benefits would be transparency. So we knew that in our current waitlist situation, it's not transparent to where students sit on the waitlist process. The current delivered process, or the direction we would like to move, would be to improve transparency so that the student, when they're actually enrolling and signing up for the waitlist, they know if they're one of 300 or are they 299 on the list. Do they sit? What is the likelihood of getting into that class? When we talked to students, they were very curious about this. They said to us in our feedback sessions at the Do It advisory board that it's very tough for them to plan their schedules. It creates questions that they have to go to advisors to discuss. Is that, I don't know where I am on the wait list. I don't know the likelihood of getting in the class. That if I had a more transparent process, I could plan better. And by planning better, that could reduce the time to graduation. It could increase our graduation rate and kind of align with those chancellor's initiatives. So transparency was very important. The second piece that was important to students and advisors and others was the inconsistency of how the waitlist was managed across the campus. And that was very confusing and created a lot of frustration for students because if we were to move to a more delivered or towards a more transparent waitlist, then they would know much more intuitively how that waitlist works, what they can expect, how they might be expected to look at that. So from those two transparency perspectives, it was very important to students in the benefits of moving in the direction. A couple other pieces were the course demand efficiencies that we would gain because students signed up for multiple sections to be on multiple wait lists because they didn't know the likelihood of getting into that course. We really couldn't understand course demand. Were there multiple students on multiple wait lists because they didn't know, or were they really truly interested in that? So helping with the metrics and the course demand was another area that we could see some efficiencies. And then I think lastly, the efficiency across the board of looking at that administrative inefficiency of managing the waitlist. Was there a more automated way that we could do this that would achieve the enrollment management goals that departments have, as well as be more transparent to students? So with the waitlist, we're also looking at the proposal of reserve capacity. And so in our feedback sessions and in the department discussions that Will and other staff in the registrar's office were having, we knew that one of the biggest reasons that the waitlist was used was there were departments that were reserving seats for prioritized groups. You wanted to hold seats for students in your major, you want to hold seats for seniors. That was all very legitimate reasons to manage the enrollment. We just didn't have a way to automatically do that. What the reserve capacity functionality provides us is the ability to reserve seats for those prioritized populations. So if you have enrollment in your course of, say, 25, you'd like to hold 7 seats for seniors in your department, you could actually hold those 7 seats for the students using the reserve cap functionality, but then it would allow the students that don't meet that reserve cap to enroll in the other 18, did I get the math right? Yes, I could ask help. No, I couldn't. Would allow students to enroll in the other 18 seats before the wait list would kick in. So there were enrollment management efficiencies that would allow departments to meet their enrollment management goals and how they want to manage their courses, but also increase the transparency and do that in an automated fashion for departments. So that streamlining of the enrollment process was very important. So when we looked at the proposal that was presented, we thought that there was great benefit in moving in this direction. So what does that mean? That means that we will be creating a project proposal that will look at, in our office, as the registrar's office, we will be defining what we mean to move from our current waitlist environment to into this direction. We will be looking at implementing the reserve capacity. And then what we will do is, as that project proposal comes through, we will have to look at it to prioritize that, because we have obviously many projects that you're hearing about today, and moving in that direction. So I think the biggest thing is to remember is there are thousands and thousands of details to work out. There are probably questions that you have that I have no clue the answer to, but hopefully we will have to work through those as a community and work through those together. We're very excited about the benefits that departments will get from this process. We're very excited about the benefits to students. We're very excited the benefits to our office and to the campus as we try to help use the course demand metrics to help planning purposes as well. One other additional piece is that we will be meeting with the academic advising policy leaders tomorrow to have a discussion around this direction that we're headed in. Ren Singer is very interested in co-sponsoring this project with us and being the co-sponsor on it. So lots of details to work out. We're very excited to move forward, and I'm happy to take questions from the group. Yes? Yeah. So the question is that will the reserve capacity have the capability of looking at certificates? And my peripheral says Will nodding, and so I will look at him again.
As long as it's declared.
As long as it's a declared certificate on the student record. So if the student has that certificate declared, then that could be, and there is a reserve capacity set for 5 supply chain management certificate students, and that student has that certificate, then the enrollment system would automatically allow them to fill that seat.
You can have, so the question was, can you do multiple? Can I have some seats for reserve chain and for a certificate program and some more seats for seniors? And yes, you can have concurrent or multiple. I'm loud. Are you going to be back there, Phil? All right, perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Ron. So yes, you can have concurrent reserve capacities going on, and as delivered, you can actually rank them. So I want to make sure I have 5 spots reserved for certificates. I want to make sure I have 10 spots reserved for seniors. I'm a certificate student who happens to be a senior. What spot do I get? You can kind of put which one you think would be more restrictive. So I would take the certificate spot first if I rank that, or if all the certificate spots were already taken, but I happen to be a senior, then I can get from that population. So you can have concurrent, and you'd be able to weight them and say, enforce this reserve capacity first, followed by this required select population second, etc. One of the business requirements that I know will be part of the project proposal is all this needs to be displayable to the public, to the students, to the advisors, so they know these are the populations that get these amounts of seats. And so hundreds, thousands of details, we're looking at some of our colleagues from other institutions that already are using this functionality, and we know that we want to be able to make sure that people can see seniors get this amount, people in the CERT gets that amount.
Other questions? this is the chance for them to all hit me later. Actually, we don't have a timeline locked down. So with that said, I can assure you this isn't going to happen in spring. I would venture to, I shouldn't even venture to guess because this gets me in trouble all the time. We will get back to you. And I can give you my date, which won't mean much because these folks have to do it, so yeah, they're begging me not to give a date. So we will be working with you. We plan more enrollment curricular forums, so there will be lots of information coming out. There will be plenty of discussions. There will be plenty of opportunity for input, feedback, folks volunteering to be on project teams, everything. So without a date, I just can assure you it's not. Right now with our current project portfolio, with the demand of our resources and the initiatives that are coming from every which way on this campus, I can assure you it's not going to be spring, and I can almost 100% assure you it won't be summer. Yes?
Will enabling the waitlist still be optional like it is now?
One of the 1,000 of details to figure out.
Okay, this isn't a question, it's just a concern, and I'm afraid if it's not, that the faculty will just say, fine, don't get any waitlists, and keep able to go back to what was before, just because they don't have control over it.
Yep. So that's a great point, and I think there was something I breezed over that Will reminded me of earlier. So there are thousands of students, I'll say thousands, that actually are on the wait list that you all approve to get into courses that never actually even take the course. There are students that don't get into sections because we're not managing the wait list as effectively as we could or as efficiently as we could. So we're going to do our best to work with the community, work with all of you to implement what's fair and implement it in the best way we can. That level of granularity, I have no clue right now, and I'm sure we'll have some kind of decision-making point that I'll have to decide or work with the departments to decide in the future. Totally recognize the point. The last thing we want to do is to move backwards toward paper, and we'll do what we can to try to make sure that doesn't happen. That I can assure you. Other questions? No other questions, then are we sure? Any other questions for any of our other topics? Or any of our other speakers? Okay, if you have a question, please raise your hand, but just a couple things. I first want to actually take a moment. Anyone who is a Office of the Registrar employee, please stand. Just a quick round of applause. Thanks. These folks are doing incredible work. They've really taken the vision that we've had for the office and really have been trying to build community across campus. As you all probably know better than I, the relationships that we develop are so critical and so important. It requires us to work together in all kinds of different fun, exciting ways. And they have really stepped up and have been doing incredible, amazing work to make sure that we're serving students and all in an effort around student success. I'm not kidding, the amount of projects and work that I create for them and campus has been changing, is just at a lightning speed. It's overwhelming, and they've really dug in to do some amazing work. Recognizing that, I think as a campus, we're all facing an incredible amount of change. Higher education, the whole entire landscape is changing at an incredible pace. Our work of trying to help you do your jobs and help make things more efficient for you and not trying to make more work for you is something we're incredibly committed to. Helping serve students is something we're, I think, jointly contributing to and dedicated and committed to. So amount of change is scary. Our relationships are going to help us get through that. Working together collaboratively is going to help us get through that. And we really are excited to work with all of you. With that said, I just would like to give one last shout out. Angie, who just joined our office in August, did an amazing job putting this together. And I really commend her on her detailed and on-timeness and all that good stuff. It's hard wrangling cats, so she did a wonderful job at making sure that we're actually like 7 minutes ahead of schedule. So thank you very much. This is always fun. If you have feedback, thoughts, there's folks in the room from the registrar's office. Please grab yourself an extra treat or a cup of coffee for the walk back. And we look forward to seeing you. Have a great rest of the semester. Look forward to seeing you in the spring. And thanks so much, everyone.